98.7.
Hello, Northwest Arkansas. All points north, south, east, and west. New York, California, Panama, and all the places that's around the world that's tuned in to Transformational Thursdays. Yes, that's right. That's Evelyn and Arthur, ATM. We're here live with you. This is really an honor and a pleasure to be able to be back on today and to continue with our conflict resolution 2.0. Because there's always that second part to that conflict resolution. And we're so honored to be here with you to continue where we left off. But before we do that, we have some things that we'd like to review with you. Just to make sure we're on the same page as usual, to make sure everyone's been doing what they need to do for the past week or two. And we want to bring you up to speed on so much that's been happening.
All right, Evelyn Sakia, how you feeling today?
Quite well. And how about yourself?
Fine. Another day in paradise.
Another day, another day.
Arthur Theodo's coming at you. We hope you're well. So just a review from the last time we were together, and again, as Evelyn articulated, we are very pleased to be with you live today, and we're excited about some of the learning outcomes that will come out of today's session. And we wanted to start with just a little recap from the last time we were together. We talked about conflict resolution in the context of about 5 different areas: individual, family,
Yes.
work, society, etc. And we also want to go over the types of conflicts as well as the conflict styles.
And give them an opportunity to understand when they will be using each and every one.
Absolutely.
Because remember, we started that playbook.
We did.
Playbook of life, playbook of conflict resolution. Because we all handle it differently.
We do.
So we want to give you the ins and the outs of when you need to walk away.
Absolutely. So a couple of ways to get us started. We're going to start with a few quotations.
Yes.
Albert Einstein said, "In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity." That's number one. Number two, Eleanor Roosevelt said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." So even when you are conflicted and you feel marginalized, we want to make sure that you feel empowered. And for those out there that are allies,
yes.
When you see a friend or a colleague in the community or at work that is on the receiving end of conflict, and you can make a difference by pulling them to the side and giving them an opportunity to be heard, that's a wonderful thing.
And even sometimes, too, you might not know the individual that you see that's in the midst of something that's going down that's inappropriate. And if you can step in and help them or bring some calm to the situation, then do so. And if not, before you start that video camera, how about calling someone that can aid you in the situation? And that other individual that can calm things down. That would be really nice instead of you just automatically videotape it. You can always videotape after you place that phone call for assistance.
Absolutely. So let's go over some of the high-level issues we talked about the last time, just as a review for some and for us, those of us that are listening for the first time to this segment. A couple of things. Number one, the average person in the workplace deals with conflict about 25% of their day. So in an 8-hour day, that's about 2 hours. And some organizations it's higher. However, the average, according to studies done by a number of leading both qualitative and quantitative folks, is that it's about 25%. The other issue, also related to work, is that 10% of the employees in an organization generate or create 90% of the conflict. And that's important for us to understand. So those are the folks that are frequent filers many times, and those are the folks that stir the pot.
And sometimes, too, just to go a little bit more in depth in terms of the different types of organizations or jobs that people have, that there's much more conflict involved than those that are a little more stationary. Okay, even taxi drivers, they say taxi drivers now, too, that conflict is quite a bit. It's very high. Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, and of course, as you know, there are firemen, police officers, anyone in law enforcement, teachers, okay? Those that work in the emergency room, nurses, doctors, okay? There's many situations that people find that they're very much under stress. The conflict is very high because you're interacting quite a bit with the public, co-workers, and those that might be injured
Right.
or having some issue at that moment, and their level of conflict resolution is very intense
Mhm.
because other things is going on in life, and as well as those individuals that's on intervention lines too.
Right,
Because
exactly.
don't think also as they're assisting you with your issue that
Right.
that doesn't heighten it for themselves as well.
And here's the thing, in a corporate environment,
Mm-hmm.
conflict is often
Yes.
something that occurs all the time. And let's say this, folks, it's not always dastardly and
Mm-hmm.
combative and acrimonious. Sometimes conflict leads to better processes,
It
more
does.
efficiency. And it's very competitive sometimes,
Mhm.
particularly in a corporate environment. And also in labor unions, not-for-profit organizations, sometimes folks are competitive. And when it's competitive that leads to good things, it's not a bad thing.
That's true. And then let's also not think about our community environments, okay? Even when you go to a house of worship,
Mm-hmm.
there can also be some issues going on there.
Mm-hmm.
Different boards that people sit on as well.
That's right.
Non-for-profit, people trying to raise money. There's not too many things in life that we can do that we won't come across conflict.
That's good.
But it's just a matter of how we're going to deal with it
Mm-hmm.
and always being civil.
Absolutely.
Because that's when you're challenged
Mm-hmm.
to keep yourself under control,
right,
to not disrespect other individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Let's think about the voice level too.
Right.
And always when we talk about, we can't do it enough, when we talk about being mindful, being in the moment, knowing when you're about to reach that point that's going to elevate your senses.
Right.
But also you want to recognize
Mm-hmm.
other individuals. We're going to talk about that when we talk about different styles. They're forced to notice
Right.
when other people are being heightened too, from the perspective that you can notice those nonverbals,
Right.
which is important for us to discuss.
Absolutely. So let's talk about, and then we're going to get into the subject of today. And just to give you a snapshot, once we do this quick review, our listeners, we're going to get into specific aspects of facilitation, negotiation, mediation, and arbitration.
Yes.
And that's why this is the advanced level of conflict resolution. 2 weeks ago, we kind of talked about the foundation, the brick and mortar of conflict resolution.
Mm-hmm.
Today, we kind of go next level. And we're going to do a deep dive because we want you to understand, because in many instances, and think about this, many of us have credit cards or debit cards. Many of us have insurance policies. Many of us have leases. Many of us, if we're able to, we invest on Wall Street. And each of those 4 examples I just gave you, if you look at the fine print, usually in a 6 font, right?
And how many of you are looking at that fine print?
That's right. It actually has 3 letters that you need to be mindful of. It says ADR. That means Alternative Dispute Resolution, which means if you have a conflict with the entity that is the contractual bilateral relationship with you, you're not going to go to litigation. You're going to actually go to either mediation or arbitration.
And we're going to talk about the different styles for all of that today.
That's right.
And let's not forget, everyone pretty much is running around with what? Cell phones.
Right.
And how many of you, when you're downloading those apps, when you're getting that cell phone carrier, you're signing up to them, and those 12 and 15 and 20 pages that you need to read, how many of us are just flicking through them? Because you can't get on until you check that box and say, I've read the enclosed.
Right.
I read the terms and conditions and agree to them so that I can get you and sign up.
That's
get that downloaded. And guess what? They're under those same conditions. You will not be litigating. You will not be going to court. You will not anything because you didn't get the services that you thought you was entitled to.
Exactly.
There will be an ADR clause that's going to be in your arbitration or mediation.
Now, here's the other thing, folks. We bring bonus coverage today. ADR, from our standpoint, and we're going to talk about our experience as negotiators, mediators, and arbitrators. ADR also signifies appropriate dispute resolution.
Yes.
Because if you look at the body of work of conflict in the portfolio, 97% of all cases that are conflict-ridden are resolved through any of those processes. There's only about 3% of these conflicts that are either high level or could be individualized that actually go to litigation, where you're talking about interrogatories and motions, and you're talking about the subpoena process and judicial intervention. So most of what we're talking about today is suitable because most of conflict gets resolved through these processes.
Okay. So before we begin, to go over some of the other additional things you want to discuss that we talked the last time that we were together about the different types of conflict and things of that nature, we're going to go to a break. Give you that opportunity to get that stretch on, get that nourishing juice. So come on back so that you can be alive, be involved for Transformational Thursday here on KDIV 98.7. We'll be back right back with you. Take care.